How do you manage to get noticed in this world with abundant information? Well, on this episode, we're going to talk about This is Marketing by Seth Godin, and hopefully we'll get some of those answers. So the reason why I picked up this book is because I thoroughly wanted to know more about marketing. I don't know where you guys lie with that information of trying to figure that out, but like I said in the intro, it is kind of crazy to stand out in this world of abundant information. So I just wanted to get some tricks and some hacks or just understand that marketing side a bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys the 5 best ideas that I got out of this book. So the first best idea of the book is, what is marketing? Now, if we look at the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition behind it, it says marketing is the act or process of selling or purchasing something in a market. Now that makes perfect sense, right? That's the flat out definition. But let's go into what Seth Godin really explains. And the first thing that I noticed in the book, he explains, first and foremost, you have to be able to see before to be seen. So he makes you understand the concepts of what is marketing. And then you notice that really marketing is all around us. And once you are more acutely aware of that, you're going to be able to present yourself in a way to be noticed. Another thing that he mentions, he says that marketers have the power to change. And that power could be to change positively or negatively. Hopefully in this situation, you guys will be looking towards a positive aspect behind it, but it is very true. There is a lot of weight behind the fact that you are a marketer. And just to wrap up this section, he explains actually the 5 steps of marketing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about it and read about it. So the first step would be innovate something worth marketing. So that makes sense, right? Have something to market. It has to be interesting, right? The second one is produce something that people could benefit from and they care about. So it has to be something that the market wants and cares about. The third step is build a story behind it so people could get behind it and build dreams with that. So a narrative, build a story behind it. The fourth one is spread the word. This is probably the one that people like the most because it becomes more real when you start spreading the word about your product. And finally, the last step, which I think is the most important one, and he mentions it as well, show up consistently and repetitively. So the more you show up in your market, the more the people around you will notice that you are a player in that industry and you're serious about it. So you just have to be consistent about it. The second best idea of the book is choose your target market. Now, if anybody has done somewhat training in business or has launched a product, and that could be a physical product or a service, you guys have probably heard of the concept of target market. Now, over here, Seth Godin really explains that there is an importance to know what your target market is. So that's the people that we are targeting with our service. Now, one thing that he mentions that I find quite interesting, he says, go for their psychographic more than the demographic of people. Now, what that means is, psychographic is people that have the same ideologies as you for your brand or for your product, and go and aim for that ideology more than just a geographical positioning. And he says that if you go more to the psychographic aspect behind it, you're going to be able to accumulate more loyal fans, community, and your clients essentially. So that is one aspect that was very interesting to really look into what is your target market and how to go towards it. And one example that he uses in the book, he uses the example of Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. Now, both of these companies sell primarily coffee, right? But one of them is less expensive on the price range and has a certain clientele. That's more of a fast, that's a let's go get it, and their slogan is actually, we serve America, right? That's like the main coffee that hits the most people. And then the other one is aimed more towards an affluent clientele, a clientele that wants to sit down and stay there, a clientele that might be a bit young for studying as well. So they go on different target markets, but they're two very specific. They know what their target market is. It's exactly the same product. And now I'm saying this exactly the same product. I mean, it's both coffee. Obviously they have their differences, but they're both coffee at different price range, but they make a certain experience that goes with it. So the reason why both of these companies succeed is because they're acutely aware of what their target market is, and they're going and respecting their target market's wish. So then you're really building a community for each one. The third best idea of the book is your best customers. Now, when he explains over here your best customers, it's really important, like we figured out before, what your target market is and get those clients that have to be working with you. Because once they start working with you and they love your service because you're giving so much value to them, these people are going to become your best salesmen. That's the honest truth. And the best way to grow a business, or one of the most solid ways, is through word of mouth. Because once somebody says something to another friend that, oh my God, this person's amazing, or this service is amazing, or this product's amazing, they're more likely to go buy that product. Now, what he explains with this, actually he shows a graph, and he shows that as much as there is a cost to acquire new clients or keep a client, if it's the proper clientele for you, the value is going to go so much higher. Because like previously mentioned, they start telling other people, and there's an actual value to that. And what he goes and explains even more is you're trying to get essentially 1,000 real loyal customers. And what he calls this, from a target market, he goes to the most smallest viable market for you. So you don't necessarily have to aim to get the huge part of the market. You have to just aim for very specific people that really have the same ideologies as you or really love your product for what the service is. And those thousands of people will make it grow, and that's how you'll hit the masses. So don't try to go too general. Try to go specific for those 1,000 people. And once you hit them, that will grow your business. The fourth best idea of the book is how to change culture. Now, at this point, you probably picked your target market, you have your product or service, and you know that you need to go out there. Now, how do you change your culture? You have this new product, you have this new service, and you're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna change the game in whatever sense of the way. So how he explains about this is, first and foremost, you have to pick your target and you have to go directly towards it. You have to learn what the culture is worldwide about this specific lane that you're choosing. And the second part is, you have to be extremely focused on this one avenue. And this is quite interesting because he says, in fact, this is probably the hardest part. Because as entrepreneurs, I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna talk from personal experience. Sometimes we feel like we wanna hit everything, do everything, kind of go left and right because we're just excited about all these opportunities. But in fact, as a marketer or as somebody that's putting a product in a place, especially in the beginning, you have to pick that one specific lane, especially if you wanna change a whole culture behind it. Because you're probably getting into an industry that has been done for so many years the same way, and people are set in stone with that. So how are you going to change that ideology? How are you going to get the people to learn new things? So he really clears it and says, first you have to have clarity. So we already got that done. And second of all, you have to have specific focus on that market and culture. And once you figure that out, then you'll be able to change your culture in a positive way. The best idea of the book is the funnel. Now, this is my favorite part of the book because it really got me to think about funneling in a very different way. Now, what he explains, so you guys understand what a funnel is, obviously, and you understand that we're in a world that is very clickbait and very funnel driven. And what he explains is that as a marketer, when you go ahead and start feeding your funnel with, I guess, sponsored ads or any type of way, you have to understand that the whole goal is to get that small viable audience, that target market that we're talking about. So even though you might be hitting thousands or even millions of people in the beginning, the only reason you're going through that is for those last couple of people. So as you're going through that funnel, you might hit some people that are not at all in your target market. And you have to be aware of that. So you might get some negativity out of that, but that's perfectly okay because the message is not for them. But unfortunately, you have to go through them to get those really specific clients that would be great for your product or service. Now for me, the kicker was the fact that he is doing the funnel, understanding that we're only going for those 5 or couple of people that are going to sign up to the program instead of the thousands that see the actual ad. And the way that I used to think before is like, oh, the more people see, it's going to be more potential to really get the product sold or whatever the case is. Now, yes, there's some truth in that, but the honest thing is there's a lot of people that are going to see that are not your target market. You just have to be aware of that. And one example that he gives is actually about Casey Neistat, which he's a very famous YouTuber, and he does a bunch of other stuff as well. And he was giving the example when he does a video, a sponsored video on YouTube, and he gets millions of views. And then he says from that sponsored video, oh, if you guys want to click here, you guys could buy this product or whatever the case is. Maybe out of the millions of views, about 18,000 of them will go ahead. Maybe 5,000 of them will actually fill up the sheet to really get more information about it. And maybe out of those 5,000, there's only going to be 5 that are going to buy the product in itself. but the whole process was made for those 5 people. And you have to be aware of those 5 specific people. Even though there's millions of people seeing it, you're not doing the ad for those millions of people. You're doing it for that very small viable market. And as previously mentioned, as you take care of that small viable market, they will start spreading the word, and then your business will grow in such a beautiful and impactful way. So I'm actually gonna try this new thing. Every time I read a book, I highlight some words that stand out to me that I don't know, and I just go check it out on a dictionary. So I'm gonna pick one word per book that I'm gonna read. And hopefully this word is something you guys probably haven't heard, so you'll learn about it, and if you already know what it is, that's kind of cool too. So the word that I picked for this book is the word pundit. And I'm just gonna read to you the definition so I won't make a mistake over here. So essentially, pundit is a person who gives an opinion in an authoritative manner, usually through mass media. So it was just interesting to me. I'll put it obviously on the screen as well so you guys can see that over there. So that's the word for this book. We're at the end of the video. So did I like this book or not? Overall, I really liked it. There was a couple of things that I found a bit difficult while reading it. The fact that I actually found the book was a bit choppy. What I mean by that, first of all, Seth Godin is a phenomenal author, one of my favorite ones to be quite honest. And he is a great blogger as well. And certain points in the book, I felt like there wasn't a fluidity in the story. It was kind of choppy. Now that being said, this book is specifically targeted for people that want to learn about marketing. So if you are interested in that, this is an amazing book for you because there's so many takeaways. I learned so much about marketing. I just want you guys to be aware you're not going into this then getting into a book that there's like a storyline or whatever the case is. This is very content driven. Obviously there's some stories, but they're not necessarily correlated from beginning to end. So that being said, I definitely suggest you guys to pick it up because everybody needs to learn about marketing. It's definitely positive in our world today. So the Amazon link will be down below. And as well, consider liking and subscribing to this video. And I'm gonna leave you off with this. Leaders are readers.